call this meeting of the Road Advisory Committee to order. Thanks for coming. Just so you know, we have a quorum here. We need 5 members. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 members. Is that right? So we're 8.
We have 8. Minnie may be here, but late.
Good. We have 8, so we have a quorum. Anybody who's interested, public comment, we've put the public comment at the end so that you can question or comment on what's been said this meeting. If it was at the beginning, as normally happens, you won't have anything, you won't know what we're talking about yet. So we've put it at the end so you can hear what's going on and then comment on it. The first order of business would be to approve the minutes from the April 16th meeting. We've all had an opportunity to read them. We got them early. Are there any questions, any changes?
Move to approve.
Move to approve and support. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Okay, then the first item on the agenda, Noah, going to give us an overview of how this all is working.
Paper copy of this, even though it is only 4 slides, so, but it's some of the stuff you can kind of see for yourself then. Dig into it if you like. So I'm the Director of Public Works here at Bloomfield Township, so I'm over the road, water, building and grounds, fleet maintenance, and administrative staff in the DPW. So I've been here 17 years at the township. So, all right, so overview of our kind of key core services, right? Snow plowing, obviously, that's why we were kind of brought on the scene in the late 70s. Dave Payne and the powers that be at that time went to the state legislature and got some rules changed that allowed us to get access to the funding that the county gets, Act 51 funding, and that's where we get the reimbursement back from the county for the work that we do. And you'll see what percentage that reimbursement is of our overall whole. It's pittance compared to what we put into the roadways. So key things for us: snow plowing, emergency response, grading of gravel roadways, pothole patching, our pavement preservation program, street sweeping, which is a Clean Water Act type requirement, stormwater controls, which are a state permit under the Clean Water Act as well, dust control, certain tri-party program that we can work with the county to kind of defray costs on roadways and split instead of us paying 100%, we can split it 3 ways between the county, those type of things. So under our purview is just over 200 miles of roadways, 213 miles of roads, 37 of those are great gravel roadways that we deal with. So we kind of have the whole gamut. As far as funding, so our sources of funding, we have a millage, right? And the average home here in Bloomfield Township pays $165 a year for my road millage. So we always get the question, you know, what's my millage paying for? Well, it pays for those core services, right? And I always tell people you probably can't even get your driveway plowed for $165 a year, right? So that $165 is the kind of skin in the game for the township, right? Then all the work we do for Road Commission for Oakland County, it totals about an $800,000 reimbursement we get from them. We also have a contract with MDOT that reimburses us for work that we do on the medians on Telegraph, Woodward, all the M labeled roadways, right? And so the reality on that is that it's a loser. They only give us $83,000. That would provide like 6 mowings or 7 mowings a year. And, you know, we'll probably use those up in the first month of the summer. So we put in like $159,000 into the medians, so you can kind of see how that's a loser for us. But we want better care in the medians than they can provide through MDOT. So in addition, we take a general fund transfer. This can go up and down in any given year. And this one's important because in like 2018, I had to cut my budget by about $2 million. That all came out of the pavement preservation program, which is all my contractors that I pay to come in and do the overlay work on the roadways. So in 2019, when the SAD failed, I had to find that $1 to $2 million, and instead of cutting staff, I cut pavement preservation program within my department, among other things. That's when the open house went away. some of our waste collection events went away at that time, so my priority was basically cutting programs instead of people, because we can't plow the roads without the people. So, and that's our core service. So then you can kind of get a ratio of what we spend our money on in the road department, right? And you can see road improvements, which is that pavement preservation project, commands 27% of our budget. And then you kind of go down from there, right? And then a couple other things I'll point out. They are diminishing factors, but we are saddled by the legacy costs that a lot of other communities are, right? I'm not under the pension, but about half of my people are under the pension, and until they go away by attrition or die off, we're still going to be paying on those promises made, right? So, but then you see kind of the cadre of services relisted there again. So basically, all the work that we do on behalf of Oakland County through our permit with Oakland County, they value that work at about $800,000, but we put, as you see, over $5 million within the roadways every year. So that's the kind of in a nutshell what we spend our money on, what our charge is. Our permit's very specific, right? And it doesn't allow for us to touch drainage, because that's under the roadway. Just like sub-base and complete removal and replacement is not allowed under our permit. That's something that the road commission retains. And I think it would be debatable whether we want to undertake that activity because we don't own the roadways. So that's, it's like fixing somebody else's car to an extent, although we're all riding in the car. So, and that example doesn't really carry weight. So I can answer any questions you guys have, give any more detail. I brought the large budget that kind of displays all the expenditures, but, feel free to let me have it. And, if you have any questions, I'm here as a resource, so.
Question, Noel. In subdivision north of me, Bloomfield North, it's all concrete roads, and there was a collapsed, one of the sheets has gone down like 10 inches. Township was contacted, there's now a barricade that's been put in front of it, but who takes care of redoing concrete? Because most of your stuff alludes to asphalt patching.
No, we do have, under our pavement preservation program, we have $250,000 allocated to concrete, $250,000 allocated to asphalt overlays, and then I have the Cape Seal program that we bought on. But what you see with concrete is it costs 10 times more to replace it, so I can only do very small amounts at those budget levels. That particular case, we're aware of it. There's a failed pipe underneath, which is causing the sinkhole. So that's when, part of the challenge of my job is advocating to like the road commission, and they're a very huge animal that has a lot going on, right? And so certainly their timelines don't really match what I want to see out there sometimes. So I try to do is just push them, right? And that's why it's important that we put $5 million into the roads, so we carry a little bit of weight with them, rather than like West Bloomfield, who puts nothing into the roadways, right? So we have some skin in the game. We know we have good relationships with the people at RCOC, so that's turned into an endeavor where we're forcing them to fix the pipe, and then, because, and what forces do I use, right? I'll close the road down. That usually forces an issue a little bit better, right? Some type of safety hazard like this is, right, forces it a little bit more, but that's what's going on there.
So it's the county that will resolve it.
Correct. Okay. We'll make sure, we kind of will play the safety warden, make sure there's and if it gets so bad the road's got to be closed down. We've done that with bridges and stuff over here off of Aspen, and if it gets too bad, we'll close it down. That will force action a lot of times, right? So, yeah.
Thanks, Noel.
Yep.
Jay?
I just want to thank Noah because we at Wabic Lake North, we had not a road issue, but a tree fell and it blocked the sewer, and your team was very responsive. And also when the Long Lake Road was closed for a long time, Long Lake was closed for a long time, we got more response from your department than the road commission, so we appreciate that. The question I have is, what is your average sense of, you've been doing this leadership job for what, 5 to 10 years?
Yep, yeah, 5 years.
5 years. So looking at all the township residents calling, etc., what is your average feel for condition of our roads?
It runs the gamut. Now, the road commission is involved right now. They're charged, because they own the asset, they're looking at the ratings of the roadways. They last did it in 2007. So they do a PASER rating, and it's a condition assessment of the roadway. And so that'll tell us, but I would say it's across the board, right? And the funding that we get allows us to touch the worst of the worst. And what that looks like, again, we have like 213 miles under our purview, and we can touch about 1 mile to 2 miles a year. So if you kind of extrapolate that out, roads only last 25 years, and it would take us at least 100 years to touch every roadway in the township, right? So they're all over the board right now, but they're all sliding down the scale, right? And because the SAD process that's out there right now can't build the momentum. We would never be able to bond all the money to do the roadways in that fashion throughout the township, right? That's, in my opinion, kind of like a non-solution, you know? Although the township has made a lot of hay and getting those SADs going. I mean, the village is a huge one going on right now, right? And even over the last 10 or so years, we've taken advantage of that program a lot more than other people, but I think, you know, the costs are gonna reach a point where and they probably have already reached that to a lot of degrees, you know what I mean? So there's some sort of bigger state solution, especially like we're in this category as urban townships that they don't really know how to handle, right? A township, typically in the township range system, a township is all like farm field, undeveloped, right? They might have 10,000 residents. So this anomaly of a very urban, 40,000 people in a actually categorized urban area is something that in Act 51 was around in 1951. So townships like us certainly didn't exist then, right? But now in the metro area, you've got Clinton Township, West Bloomfield, right, Canton Township, and some of them, they're doing their own road work to some degree, and that's not how it's supposed to be.
So just to understand what you said, so there is no grading of our local roads, right? Road Commission does
No, they grade all of their roadways, so when they do the PASER ratings, they'll include everything. The problem with the road commission, it's been 20 years since they've done it, and that's a lifespan of a road. So, you know, the data will be good right when we get it, and probably for the first 5 years, but then it'll be out the window.
So when was the last time they did that?
07,
07, oh.
yeah, so it's due for another look, so.
Jeff?
I'm curious on the county and how you figure out that 800,000. Is there a formula?
There's a
Do we
form-
make a request? Is there any, how's all that work?
There's a formula that's dictated by Act 51, and that basically it just goes up by 3% each year. And they look at the duties that the township does overall and the ones that are permitted by the township, and they peel off that money. So like literally, probably why they don't want us touching drainage is because that would allow us to get a couple $100,000 more dollars that goes into their kitty. And I guess it would be a debate whether we'd want to touch drainage too, because it's very expensive from the township's perspective. You know, doing overlays is very cheap compared to digging up a roadway and putting new pipes in. So,
Do we ever request more than what the formula is, or is that a process, or it's not even?
we
Go-
can't
go-
do that.
okay.
It's really governed by the statutory,
Yeah,
so if they would be against their own, you know, governing rules if they gave us more. So it is subject to like a 3% increase each year.
So we're trapped into that formula?
Yes, yep,
Trapped may be a bad word, but.
right. But, you know, and again, it's a great deal for the county, because they're giving us 800 grand, but they're getting $5 million worth of work.
Yeah.
You know, so.
What would you want to do? I mean, it doesn't seem proper that the county would collect all this money, leave you to kind of make up for the shortcomings of their service to the citizens of the township, but it's costing us money. Is there any solution?
I think we've got to go to the state, we've got to build momentum, go to the state level. There is some more, you know, some fix the damn road momentum, but we're 7 years after
Yeah, I don't
that
know.
mantra,
I don't know where that
right?
is. I
Maybe
don't know
that's
where that
after
is.
they're dirt again.
I must
But,
have missed
it's really got to happen at the state level. The Donnie Steele has a bill out there right now, she's a partner on it, but it kind of earmarks that stuff to go to the county. If that's how it ends up, I think we exploit our relationships with the county at that point and say, listen, this is the money, the skin we have in the game. If they change the formula that allows us access in some way to it, like provide a carve out for a large township, just like they do like to allow the casinos in Detroit, right? They made the law and they made the cutoff 700,000 people to exclude Grand Rapids. So they would make some sort of rule that says a large urban township and say like 30,000 people minimum and then so I think that we should lobby at the state level for them to find a change within the Act 51 doctrine, right, that drives this whole thing, because that tells where all the gas tax money is going. So that tells where all the road money funds MDOT, funds the cities, villages. We're just a township, so we're out of that fray
I
right now.
just one other question, since it is done with gas tax, do the electric vehicles, do they pay a tax that we actually have access to?
They pay some taxes, but they don't pay a traditional tax. What they're looking at doing
Like the
for them
gas
is,
tax.
right, they're looking at doing like a usage.
They pay on their registration fee. They have a higher registration fee.
Oh, do they? Okay.
And when we changed it, I think we added in 15,000 miles a year. So they're paying that, whatever the calculation was.
Whatever it's.
Whatever the tax would have
I'm
been
just
on
curious,
that.
thanks.
Yeah, they're talking about doing, a few other states have like a track, and, you know, this gets into a tracking thing and a freedoms thing, you know. But they wanna look at how many miles you're traveling in a year and maybe proportionalizing your registration on that instead of the gas purchased, right? So it's just another way of doing it to capture those electric vehicles. And either way, we're gonna end up paying more on that, right?
Thank you.
So, yeah.
I've got a couple of things
Uh-huh.
that I want to ask about. First of all, you have a sense, how much money from township residents goes to the state? Because I think that's where it goes to first, then to the county. So is there a
I don't
sense of
know.
how much money we send to the state that then eventually works its way back?
No, I guess that, you know, I don't know if they even, I don't know how that, like if we're a donor community versus a receiver, my sense would be we're a donor, right? It's a bedroom community without a lot of industry in it, so we all travel for work. And so that means gas usage, and that means you're a donor versus a receiver, so.
Because, you know, we talked about this from the beginning. Very first sentence out of here was that we want to work with a blank sheet of paper. We want to look at anything. Nothing is off the table for discussion. Of course,
Right.
that may be really dumb, and you want
Right.
to do it, but I mean, for
Rubber
discussion.
roads or something, right?
Well, or, yeah, meteor dust or something, yeah.
Right.
Okay, so, but what I'm getting at is, and it's the next follow-up is if somehow the law was changed, I'm sure that was probably so that we could retain that money and put it in with maybe the same millage, we have a millage with that money, and we do more here. And coupled with that, we keep saying that the county owns the roads. Now, I'm not sure if that's the right word, owns, or the
They
law
own.
says they
No, they own.
have jurisdiction over them.
They own them.
They
They
own
own the
them?
right of way, they control
Okay,
it,
all
they
right,
permit
so,
everything done in that.
Again,
right of way.
speaking from a blank sheet of paper, if somehow is that because of the law?
That's
Is that-
because we're not a city.
Okay,
Right, when you become a city, you take jurisdiction of all that stuff, plus you have a different, so it's that age-old, like, the reason townships are attractive is because they typically have a lower millage rate, a lower taxing authority, right? So, who do you wanna be? A city, bigger taxes, maybe have a millage to cover this, but a significantly high tax load, right? I live in Farmington Hills. They tried a directed SAD program 10 years ago in my community, where they would come in and they'd tell me my road needs to be redone, and then I would have to pay for it, right? Then they got sued up to the Supreme Court, and they backed off of that, and so the citizens of Farmington Hills voted, and we now have a millage, and that comes in and that pays for those roadways, right? And so, but we're up against our cap. So you have to, in this community, you're gonna have to look at, is police and fire more valuable than the roads? Is the safety path program, which eats into the millage cap, part of the roads? Do you look at changing the charter in the township to allow for more funding to be sought from the taxpayers, right? The SAD process to shift public safety dollars over to an SAD instead of on a millage and then opening up millage dollars, right? That's the type of things we can do locally to open up some floodgates.
Okay,
But they're
so-
hard choices.
Is that structure set in law? Or is it just how it's been done since the Hoover administration?
No, I mean, cities and the law, when the township range system was in place, when they surveyed from 8 Mile Road, the
Right.
entire state of Michigan, that's been in place since then.
Okay.
Those rules, and that's why we're a charter township, because it protects us a little bit more when the annexation was going on, right? So even a charter township is one step up from just a run-of-the-mill township. The charter protects us, right, to some degree, even though they still annex the land. But cities, it's inherent within the structure of the state that they have local control over those roads.
So then that would have, if that was to be changed, would have to be done by law. It
Yes.
would have to be done at the state legislature.
Yep, and we've looked as the township when Schubner was, Bloomfield Park, when they
Yeah.
were trying to annex that land. We did an extensive study that was like 2 years prior to me being here, but the folders in my desk are like that thick from that study. And that was under Dave Payne, and the ultimate decision was we don't want to be a city, so.
So Farmington, isn't it a city?
Yeah, and that's why they had the ability, like, we're up against our tax millage here. So to say that we can even go out and ask the people if they want to pay more can't happen at this point, right? So whereas the city of Farmington Hills had room and has a higher taxing authority, and they were able to do it, so.
I'm curious, you mentioned cities on the gas tax. There's a township piece and there's a city piece. How is the city piece determined? Do they get?
I'll have to look.
A different proportion or?
Gary,
even
who's
or
coming
all?
here from the road commission, that's his Bible, because that's how he's funded. I'll have to look at researching that on it. He'll know that right off the top of his head. What proportion of the funding goes straight to cities, I'm not aware of that, so. There is a model and there is a state, like, equation they run it through, and it earmarks X percentage towards cities.
So it'd be interesting how equitable it is, but we'll see that.
Right.
But I brought that up because, and you kind of, you referred to what I was thinking. You said that it would, a city would have a much higher millage. But the last time I looked, I researched several years ago, so it changes every year, I know that the city of Birmingham was about 53 mills. And I believe we were somewhere around, at that time, around 50.
I don't know.
That changes all the time, I know that.
Right, and you gotta remember, the largest portion of your tax is going right to schools, and that's not
Right.
us, right? So,
Okay,
we
I
only
get it.
have, our assessors here,
Sorry?
We're right around 40.
40 total?
Yeah, depending on what school district you're in. Yeah.
I thought we were higher than that.
Well, non-homestead is probably about 40.
Darren, you want to come up and introduce yourself? And
I just came here to observe. Darren Kratz, I'm the assessor for the township. Most of our school districts are right in the 42 mil range. Bloomfield Village, which is Birmingham schools, is 40 mils, plus they levy an additional 2.25 mils for the village, so they're about 42. They're our highest homestead. Now, our non-homesteads, those can get up there into the 50s, but.
That's the total of the whole tax bill.
Yeah, so if you're
Everything.
homestead in Bloomfield Hills schools, you're right around 40 mils. Yeah, and that would be total.
Okay.
Yep. And what's that?
What about Birmingham schools?
Birmingham's right around 42. Yeah, it's when you get in the village, it's a little bit higher than the normal school district because they levy in a special assessment millage, but, so.
Okay.
Can I ask a dumb question?
Is it, well,
What percentage goes to the school?
public comment is coming later. Public comment is coming later. Now, we can get the answers also from the township supervisor too, so. But let me just say, is there any other questions for Noah at this point?
I don't have a question, but I'd just like to give Noah, you and your staff a compliment, how responsive they are. It's very impressive. You make a phone call, we need a little fix doing, small stuff, but it's important. And it's usually next day. So I just want to say thank you.
yeah, I'm very proud, and
You should be. Yeah.
my staff
Very,
are
very good.
awesome people, and they are the best on earth, so, and that's not including me.
I echo.
All right, you know what? I think we did reserve on the agenda, public comment is at the end, but you know what? Since Noah's here, we have some people here, maybe if you want to ask a question now, go ahead and do it.
But please come up to the microphone.
But you got to come up and
Yeah.
identify yourself, who you
Yeah,
are,
name and
and you get 3 minutes, same like any other public comment.
It really is more of a question.
Just use the microphone here before the podium,
No, the other one.
right here. That's, thank you.
My name is Michael Weinstein with Bloomfield Square Association, and I was just elected to the board, so this is all new to me. I've been a resident here for 20 some odd years. Our roads are deteriorating. You basically said it. So the question that I have is, one is what can we as a neighborhood do? And should all the associations get together if there should be a concerted effort towards getting laws changed, towards doing something? What can we do and what can I do to sort of help facilitate that? And the other thing is, what you said it's 42 mills. What percentage goes to the schools and what comes to the township? So that.
Well, I haven't looked at it in a while, but it seems to me that it's about 75% of your total tax bill goes outside of the township. So
Okay.
about a quarter of it stays in.
Okay, all right. And then, as far as what you guys can do, there's kind of two parts. One is, if you see anything in the neighborhood, call us, right? Because then we can be aware of these bad spots, and, my foreman is all throughout the township, but we can't get everywhere, right? And if something's on our radar, then it's at least, we put the red line where the budget is, and if you're above or below, you get it. But if you're never on the list, you never get anything, right? Then the second part of that, I think this group is gonna be doing the work to kind of formulate the plan to make the actions going forward, which might be when you need like HOA overall support or a letter at that point, right? But we're kind of trying to figure out what the battle plan is right now. So that's kind of how I'd handle that, so.
Okay, thanks. Anybody? Well, okay.
Yeah,
Anybody else here on the committee want to make a comment or just storing this information away for a work session another time, right?
Noah, who is the Gary you mentioned from Road Commission?
He's the, Gary Petrovich.
Oh, I
He's the
see.
managing director,
The
yeah,
deputy.
second in charge at Road Commission.
Yeah, and he'll be here in 2 weeks to address our committee.
Yeah, so the Act 51 questions, that's his Bible, like I said. That's what pays his salary, and he'll know, even if there's momentum at the state level to do any changes or anything like that, he's on the county, he's on the board that kind of drives the advisory county for counties and that, so.
I'm going to ask you one more question, one more thing. Supposing the law was changed, and again, this is blank sheet of paper, could be crazy stuff. The law is changed so that the funding doesn't go to the state, or the county.
Right.
The funding from the gas tax, from whatever, could come directly to municipalities, cities, townships, villages, whatever.
Right.
Okay, but the law has to change. If that were to happen, would it be feasible that we could take over ownership of the roads and complete maintenance like a city would? We wouldn't be a city, but would it be feasible to do it?
Assuming that the funding was
Right,
there,
obviously.
yes. Like I could, if it was only local roads at this point, I could say yes right away, right? Because we're already geared up to plow those, we're already geared up to do work, and we hire contractors to do the overlay work that we do. So you just, instead of the contractor doing $1 million worth of work, they'll do $2 million this year, right? Whereas if we're gonna do snow removal on those mains that we don't do right now, that's a different animal. Like a subdivision road, you kind of have to let the snow fall before you plow it. Whereas a main road like Long Lake, you got to keep up on it all the time. So we'd have to get equipment, because it takes us 12 to 16 hours to get through all of our routes right now, because I have 12 drivers, right? So if I pull drivers and put them on Long Lake, then I got 24 hours till I get to the subs. So we aren't gonna diminish our service level, as we've talked about this. We aren't gonna diminish our service level in the subs. What we would do is add equipment and staff to handle the mains there.
But of course,
So-
if the funding was there, you could do that.
Correct. It would take us a year to two to gather the equipment,
Yeah, right.
because it takes about a year and a half right now to
This
get a
is very,
truck.
very hypothetical at this
Right,
point.
but certainly I'll spend it, right? In the first year, I'd probably just spend it all on contractors, because you make a big splash out there on the road, you get the overlays down, then I'd work the snow removal into it, right, so.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
To follow on Jeff's question, how much would it cost? How much money would you need
Well,
to take it over as?
Kind of proportionalize it right now, we get about 1.5 million, and we can touch a 0.5%. So if you keep doubling that amount, you kind of, there you can see where if we got $6 million, but then, you know, it's gonna be a 25-year program or a 20-year program. So there's gonna be all the people that get the money in the beginning, right? And that's where it would come down to our system to delineate the worst of the worst roadways, right? And that's where you fall back on your staff and their foremen that are out there on the roads and working. You know, I don't like to be the one who makes that decision because I'm not out there on the roads as much as them. And that adds another layer between you just like that person or whatever, you know what I mean? Like, I don't need to be dealing with all that stuff, so I kind of isolate myself from those decisions, so. But, you know, generally, if we got to a $6 million, like additional $6 million in there, we would definitely be able to make a program that, you know, starts to make a significant difference out there. And we would start with the worst of the worst. There are some roads that are going to gravel here. And the Village was always a good example until now, although you kind of have half and half going on in there. But, I mean, when they're turning to gravel and there's a pile of stone in people's yard in the spring, that's the worst of the worst here in the township. So when we're raking people's yards to rake the road back out of the roadway, or out of the drive, you know, that's.
See, that also, there's another component to that, and I've been saying this, and it's not the main focus of this, but that's part of it, is that if that were to happen legally from the state, the change of that ownership, that whole scheme, then we have in our mission statement, we're gonna talk about it in a little while, something about autonomy of the roads. Right now, we can't do anything without the permission or the county doing it. Want a stop sign? Can't do it. Want no right turn? Can't do it. You know, all those other things.
Right.
So that would allow us not only to do that, but it wouldn't cost any more, but we would have autonomy. We could do those things.
Right.
But again, it has to come from the state, it has to be legislated.
Right.
I get that.
And, you know, I think the road commission, it'll be a cold, dead hand thing, right? Like, they're not gonna give up all their funding.
No.
So they're gonna
Well,
wanna
it's
retain, it's gonna be a negotiation with them, you know, and depending what the state dictates, cause that'll kind of take it out of their.
Well,
purview.
anyway, that's a long way off.
Right,
It's
right.
a hypothetical
I'll
right now.
enjoy those negotiations, right? Then
That's
I'll
not
leave
even,
right
it's
after.
just something to just talk on point.
Jeff, one
Jeff.
follow-up. You raised that point about donors. Is there any place that this committee could get the information of the gas tax, either by township or by county? And so we could see how that, because.
Yeah, I'll request that from Gary prior to his
Yeah,
meeting,
because
you
you
know.
look way down the road, that may be a fact of many. That would be good to know, to say, you know, we're contributing X and we're getting,
Why, yeah,
Why
for sure.
minus.
Or why minus,
Getting
yeah.
X minus, yeah, get it.
but it would just, we need a lot of facts and it's just a
Well, that's
fact.
what we're doing,
Yeah,
right,
yeah.
you're right. Okay, anybody else?
Yeah,
Okay, thank you.
I had
No-
one,
Oh, I'm sorry, go
one
ahead.
question. Thanks for all the information you provided. In the last decade or so, was there any discussion or about doing some condition assessment of our local roads?
No, other than
Yes.
it would be like, I'll have to look at what but that's like, that would be us investing in their roadways at that, more than just like putting pavement down. So at this point, we've chosen to put the pavement down on the roads. We know we got way more bad roads out there than we got good ones. So there's no shortage of ones that need the work out there, right? If they were our roadways, we would have, we have an asset management plan for all the water and sewer infrastructure that we own. We would have an asset management plan for the roadways. I think that's the only way you can drive this type of a major project, right? Even us delineating $6 million worth of work in a year is more than our staff can handle. So we'd have to, again, have contractors helping us out with that, so.
All right, that's fair.
Okay, thank you. No,
right.
thank you very,
Very
very
nice,
much.
Sean.
Good
Thank you.
information.
All right.
All right,
And you guys feel free to reach out to me. I'm right there, so if
Right.
you have any questions or group them up to Mike, you know, and we'll feel free to, you know, reach out to us, so.
Thank you.
all right, moving on to the next item is the mission statement. You all got that. I hope you all had an opportunity to look it over. I'd like to, we need to either approve or change or whatever. If you've looked at it, anybody have any changes or anything you want to comment on it or anything?
I have a
Just
few,
open it up.
Jeff.
Yeah, go ahead.
First of all, the name of the committee, we Road Advisory Committee
That's
as
what
opposed to Advisory Road Committee, just for
okay.
consistency sake.
Yep.
We've been calling it RAC, Road Advisory, that's what all the information's coming out.
Right,
Because
but the
of-
mission statement says
Yeah, I know,
advisory.
we could
Okay.
change that, okay,
Alright.
fine, so should we, all right, so let's start there. Is that okay, Road Advisory Committee?
Yep.
All right, so change that.
And is it necessary to indicate we are a committee of the Bloomfield Township, or that's understood?
Road Advisory Committee of Bloomfield Township?
Yeah, someplace, where, just the beginning, because it does say Board of Trustees and all that, so.
Well, you could call it Road Advisory Committee of Bloomfield Township, I guess, you could put that.
Yeah.
That sounds good.
It is kind of understood that that's what it is, but we can, yeah,
Spell it out.
spell it out, why not?
And I have a couple more.
Yeah, go right ahead.
Acting in an advisory role, the committee provides thoughtful. I was concerned about the word thoughtful input. To me, that meant kind. And I'm thinking, what was the intent? Was it mindful or relevant input? Or if everybody else likes thoughtful? But to me, thoughtful exudes the, I won't upset you by telling you that. I'll be thoughtful.
Well, I have it crossed out, it's an unnecessary word, because it can stumble.
Just
That's
All
true,
you
too.
need is-
Input.
All you need is your
Take the
input.
thoughtful out.
Input, yeah. And if it's
take the
thoughtful,
thoughtful.
merciful, Christ-driven, whatever it is, it'll suffice, but,
Yep. Admit it. Omit it.
it's just, I would just omit it.
Okay. Is that all right? Okay,
And the last one for me,
Go ahead.
in making informed decisions about road-related needs and priorities, I think instead of needs to use the word requirements, it's a little bit stronger, as opposed to I need something. It's like, no, we require to have this done. So in the last sentence, changing needs to requirements, although there's a lot of R's together, unfortunately, after that, but but something different than needs. Any comment?
I'm fine with
Requirements?
that's fine.
Yep,
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah, that's fine. Anybody else?
That's good.
Okay, well then we need a motion to approve that.
I so move the mission statement as amended by the committee members.
Support.
Moved and support. Any discussion on the motion?
Nope.
Okay, then I'll call for a vote. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, missions, that's fine. So do okay, so we just need to get that changed and that's it. Okay. Well, that's pretty good. That went quicker than I thought. Okay, the next thing, meeting schedule. And you got that also. Of course, who knows what's going to be happening in August or September for us, for any of us, but is this okay? I mean, it's every 2 weeks right through till September.
Well, it is what it is.
For 2 weeks, right.
Except for the one that got omitted because of the conflict of the room.
Yeah,
So I assume
right.
that's okay.
Yeah.
Or if we meet
Or we
online,
could-
if there's a
we could meet at
requirement.
any place.
Oh, we can meet any place, that's true.
Yeah.
So
So I actually have a question on, not so much the schedule, but the meetings themselves. So I know that I'm going to have some absences, so
Yeah.
and I know that I can watch this meeting on cable. I watched the last one, so it was quite good to have. But should I have a replacement or any other member of the committee?
No,
who
as long as
just-
there's a quorum, it's not a problem.
Right,
Everybody's
so
gonna have.
just make your apologies and.
Yeah,
say,
everybody's gonna have a
"I'll make
vacation
it."
sometime in the summer,
Yeah, I
you
can
know,
listen
or
in to
something.
the next one. Perfect, okay.
Yeah.
There's no problem.
That's what I figured, yeah.
Yeah, you've all been appointed, and you
Yeah.
hold that position. And if you don't show up, we just will continue on with
Perfect.
who we
Yep.
have.
The question, Jeff, do we want to add the 26th of June or 25th of June and meet at the cable place, or is there such a conflict that doesn't make sense? You got a conflict.
I've got a conflict apparently. Yeah, but we'll have to check that out, because if we use that cable room again, we have to reset it up. And there's some time and material involved with that, so.
And we can also do a different day. So, I mean, when we deal with the next meeting,
We can miss 1 week.
yeah, we can.
No, it's not, it's not the end of the world.
Yeah,
Let it go.
because then you get into the holidays, 4th of July too.
Yeah, whether I see our schedule is first 2 or 3 meetings, we might have the full board, and then we might assign subcommittee to, this is my suggestion, where, you know, subcommittee of 3 or 4, and they can do some work and bring it back to the full board, so that, but we won't know that until second or third or fourth meeting.
Right, so that's what we said, we're gonna set it up every 2 weeks, but if we decide 5 weeks, 6 weeks in, that we really don't need to do that, we can change it. But this is just, change. The only, I have one thing I wanted to bring up, kind of like, about, we're talking about absences and all that. We really should have as a vice chair. Because if the chair, if I'm not here as chairman, we need someone who is responsible to take over the meeting. So what we should do is to nominate somebody who, or have a volunteer, let's say, first, and then move to approve that position.
I nominate Mindy.
Yeah, there you go.
I second it.
All right, if you'd rather hold off until next meeting, if we have a full, we can do that. If she's going to be here, that's fine too. But I think we need to do that because you need to have a structure.
Okay.
And if you don't, then, what do you do? So,
Okay.
what do you think?
Good
What do you
idea.
want to do?
Good
Do it now?
idea.
Yeah.
Do it next time, see if we have a full meeting, and if we don't, do it anyway? If we,
Yeah,
and let's
I just
hopefully.
said what you put on the agenda for the next meeting.
Okay, all right, great, okay. So that takes care of that item. Now, the only other thing is public comment. Do you have anything else that you want to? Because you can go again if you want. Now it's public comment. Okay, thank you.
Jeff, I had a.
Yeah, go ahead.
question. It's really the outline or scope of work. Do we have, so we as a committee, or do we have, we know what we're going to do? Like I know we had, today, the presentation, next 2 weeks, we have the county road. Have we laid out, or should the committee just say, these are the resources, or these are the people, or these are the things we need to do or it's a schedule already exists?
I don't know the answer to that,
Yeah,
so.
Sue, will you step up to the microphone and
Maybe it's all there.
then I think, did you send out an email about our speakers to them?
Oh, so you've got
I
it
think
all
I
there.
just included Noah for this week.
Right.
Next week,
Right.
or the next meeting's gonna be Gary Petrovich from the road commission. I'm not sure if he was gonna bring somebody else, but Gary for sure. 2 weeks after that is gonna be Jason Tice, our accounting director.
Finance director.
Finance director, as well as Darren Kratz is gonna be back as well. They're gonna explain the funding with, more in depth about that with the township.
And I think after that, we were going to get Corey.
Corey Elmas?
Yeah, so
Yeah,
maybe
I'll
we
talk
can
to
send
him.
them a schedule of the speakers and who they
That'd be nice.
represent.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that would be
That'd be
helpful.
helpful.
Maybe
That'd be
there's some
Yeah.
things we want to add
Yeah,
to the thing or not.
right.
And then if you have any suggestions for people too,
Yeah.
please let me know and I can reach out to them.
Yeah, that would be
Yeah, well, that's
helpful.
part
we
of
wanna
that,
touch all the
as
bases.
far as suggestion, it could be part of what you talk about, a committee work. I think we should go and interview, and go to, like, Canton Township, for instance, just went through this. And other
That's a good
places,
idea.
maybe as a committee, or invite them here. But we need to, I think we should get any input from other communities all over,
Yeah, we should.
even local, Beverly Hills. It's just village, I get that. But how are they able to
Yeah, that's
fund
what-
what they do?
we gotta
It's a little
divide
village,
the
how do they
work.
do it?
It's a good
You know,
idea.
Get some more information on
Yeah.
that.
And also, I think I was going to ask Mike about this. Noah mentioned this proposed bill in the legislature from our Donnie Seal. Is that useful for us to look at that, or what is that is proposed there?
Yeah, well, you know what, Sue, make a note of that. I think it's an 8-bill package that has been sponsored by a few representatives in Lansing. Donnie Steele, who's one of our representatives, is sponsoring another package for us to help us get some funding for a new fire station. I'm not sure that she's on the bills for the road funding, but we'll get you the copy of those to read through. And when you can't sleep at night, it'll be good reading.
You can send us a link and we can.
Yeah, right, yeah.
Or could one of those people, those legislators, come to talk to us here?
Yeah, you know.
Or are they
that's-
just too busy?
No, actually, they'll take a summer break, and probably, it depends on the budget gets done, probably after June, so usually July and August, if the budget is finished and signed by the governor, Well, let's try and get Donnie on the schedule for one of our Wednesdays then, so it'd probably be
That'd be
July
great.
or August.
That'd be
And she's
wonderful.
the appropriations chair of transportation, so that would be,
Okay, that'd be
that'd be a
excellent.
really good one.
Yeah, that's a
Okay,
strong,
anything else anybody wants to, one thing on the agenda from now on, at the very bottom, after public comment, items not on the agenda, that's an opportunity to bring something up that can't be voted on because it's not on the agenda.
Right.
But it gives us an opportunity to bring up a subject that maybe we can add to an agenda, and it's formalized, that's all. So let's put that on.
I just had a question, if
Yeah.
I could. The two documents that were sent out by Susan, where did they come from?
What was
The
that?
two documents that were sent out to the committee about road funding,
Is that the one I sent you?
it may have,
I
have-
sent
did you
one.
send it? I thought it
Yes.
came
Yeah.
from Susan.
I sent
Sorry.
two documents that were sent to
Right.
us from the
Right.
fellow Byrne, was it?
Michael Byrne.
Michael Byrne. He sent it to me,
Okay,
and I said, okay, he did the work, and so I'm not gonna hide it. So I sent it to you.
yeah, no,
Just for your information,
they were excellent documents, I'm not
I know.
complaining, I was just curious where they came from.
but
that's
anything
all,
that
yeah.
comes to us,
Yep,
everybody's gonna get, nothing's gonna be
yeah.
hidden. It's gonna be
Very
open.
informative.
Everything open.
Very informative,
So just keep it
yep.
for future reference
thanks,
as well.
thanks for doing it.
Yeah.
You know, he's obviously done a pretty good analysis, but it's the cart before the horse, you know.
Well, that's way down the road, you're right.
Yeah.
But he sent it, so I sent it to you. So that's where that came
I
from.
appreciate that, yeah.
All right,
Thank you.
anything else anybody wants to add? All right, then, pretty good. We got 45 minutes, we did it.
Move to adjourn.
Okay, let's have a motion to adjourn then.
Move to adjourn.
Move to adjourn. Support. We're adjourned. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank
you.
you.